Just how much, Richard, do you think is at stake with these midterms?
Well, you often hear it said during American elections that this is the most important election of our lifetime. It has become that much of a cliche, but there is really a sense amongst different campaigns that this is a very, very different election altogether. You have had, of course, the attack on Paul Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi's husband, with a hammer. You've also had multiple instances of voter intimidation, people going to polling stations where there's early voting and intimidating people who are going to cast their ballots. You have people with rifles who've been staking out polling stations in Mesa in Arizona as well. And behind all of that is the threat of more intimidation and violence. Republicans have already been saying that they want to see all the votes counted on the evening of polling day. That is simply something that cannot be done. And we saw what happened in 2020 when vote counting went on for days in crucial swing states. That's likely to happen here once again. There has been a particular edge to this, and that has really stemmed back for over the last 5 or 6 years from when the Trump presidency began. I spoke to Sean Spicer earlier on in the week. He really, to put it to him, whether or not he has any personal responsibility or feels any sense of shame or remorse for the level of discourse which has transpired in American politics. Here's a bit of what he had to say.
You want to know if I'm responsible because someone has said something about a conspiracy with Nancy Pelosi's husband, and yet there were plenty of people that called out Brett Kavanaugh and he deserved it and he did this. Not one of those people came out and said a darn thing. Every Republican was supposed to denounce what happened to Paul Pelosi. And I'm glad they did, because it was wrong. But nobody is asked to say anything about Kavanaugh or Zeldin or any of these other things. We had an attack on the Illinois governor. Bolduc, the New Hampshire Senate candidate, was attacked the other night. Again, does anyone go to the Democrats and say, are you going to call this out? No. I mean, there is
what does that say? What does that say about America?
What does it say is
that is the situation, that you do have these things happening, and you can say, sure, it's happening on both sides. But does that not require some responsibility and leadership from people, perhaps like yourself, perhaps like the president's side as well?
Sure, it does, but listen to me.
Calm the situation down and take that venom out of it.
Hold on. Yes, and what happened? Every single prominent Republican that I know denounced what happened to Paul Pelosi. There's your leadership. When it happens on this side, there's absolute deafening silence. So if you want to ask the questions, go ask them, but you're asking the wrong people.
Sean Spicer bringing his usual quiet, self-effacing self there, Richard.